The Fed flipped. Last week, Fed Chair Jerome Powell just gave us the biggest clue yet about what's happening to your home's value. And it's not what you think. Because here's the deal. There are four forces quietly resetting home prices right now. And they're pulling in completely opposite directions. And homeowners have no idea which side is winning in their neighborhood. So let's go through all four resets, and then I'll show you which one is winning in your area and what you can do about it. Reset number one, the Federal Reserve flipped reset. So what just happened this week? Well, Jerome Powell completely flipped his messaging at Jackson Hole on August 22nd. I mean, for months, Fed officials were saying we need more data and we're being patient. Then Powell dropped this bombshell. The balance of risk appears to be shifting and conditions may warrant policy changes. Translation, rate cuts are coming and they're coming fast. And the market exploded. The Dow was up 846 points in one day. Mortgage companies started advertising, get ready for lower rates. Real estate agents began texting clients, now's the time to buy. But here's the flip that changes everything. You see, in the same speech, Powell quietly announced they're abandoning their let inflation run hot strategy from 2020 through 23 and returning to strict 2% inflation targeting. I mean, this is huge. It means no more money printing parties like we saw during COVID. No more transitory inflation excuses. No more letting asset bubbles inflate to help the economy. So the real Fed strategy here was revealed. Powell essentially said, we're going back to being boring. Traditional central bankers who actually care about price stability. But here's what he didn't say. How do you cut rates to help the economy while also promising to fight inflation? Because you can't have both. And here's why this creates a price support trap. You see, when the Fed cuts rates, mortgage rates might drop. More buyers can afford homes. Home prices get pushed up. This creates more inflation. Fed has to stop cutting rates. It's a built-in contradiction. You see, the Fed just promised to fight inflation while simultaneously promising rate cuts that will cause inflation in housing. And with regard to this historical pattern, I mean, every time the Fed has tried this soft landing approach in the past 50 years, one of two things happen. First, they cut too little, so the economy stays weak and housing stays expensive. Or they cut too much, asset bubbles inflate, and then they have to raise rates aggressively later. See, Powell's flip this week just guaranteed that we're heading for one of these two scenarios. So here's what this means for you. The Fed's flip gives your home price a small, temporary boost from rate cut hopes. But don't get excited because Powell just set up a policy contradiction that will force them to either disappoint markets with small cuts or create another bubble they'll have to pop later. Either way, this support, it won't last. Reset number two, the property tax punishment reset. You see, here's what's happening right now. 2025 is a major reassessment year. Tax assessors are using pandemic-era peak prices to calculate your new property taxes. Washington, D.C. area, 9% assessment increases. Average residential, 13% increases in some areas. In Colorado, 6.25% assessment rates if values rose more than 5%. The twisted reality here is when we get higher tax assessments, official home values go up and your monthly costs increase. Net effect, you're poorer, even if your home is worth more. So here's what this means for you. Your home shows a higher value on paper, but you're paying hundreds more per month in taxes. It's fake wealth that costs you real money. Reset number three, the market reality crash reset. You see, here's the current market data. 36% of America's largest housing markets, that's 109 out of 300 major metropolitan areas, are now experiencing falling home prices, concentrated in states like Florida, Texas, Arizona, Colorado, and Louisiana. And I'll scroll the top metros right here for you to read. But here, take Nashville as an example. Inventory doubled from 70 to 135 homes. The days on market there is up from 40 days on the market to 79 days. Austin, prices are down 15% from the peak. Miami, prices are down 19% from the peak. So why is this accelerating? Well, home prices are 80% above their 130-year average. People simply can't afford to buy at these levels. And the national cost, $2,800 a month on average to buy, $2,000 on average to rent. Nashville is 171% more expensive to buy than rent. But here's the reality reality gap nobody really talks about. My good buddy Jason, he has recently been shopping for a new home in Arizona, and he's placed over, 10 offers or so in the last few months, all 5 to 10% below asking, which the data supports since Phoenix is down 3.5%. But every single offer rejected. Sellers are still mentally living in 2021, choosing not to sell rather than accept market reality. So here's what this means for you. You're caught in a perfect storm. The market reset, it's happening in slow motion because stubborn sellers won't accept reality. But your tax assessor already locked in those inflated pandemic values for 2025. So while your home quietly loses value month by month in one of these 100+ declining markets, you're still paying higher property taxes based on peak prices that no longer exist. It's the worst of both worlds. But stay with me. It's not a lost cause, not by any means. I have a practical plan for you here in a second. But let's get to reset number 4, the algorithm manipulation reset. And we're talking upward pressure on prices, but it's fake. So here's how this works. Zillow's estimate has about a 7% error rate for off-market homes, but sellers use these estimates to price their homes. And what this does is it creates a feedback loop. You got bad algorithm estimates, leads to inflated listing prices, leads to higher comparable sales, leads to even higher algorithm estimates. So the current problem here is the algorithmic pricing models, they're slow to recognize market corrections. They're still showing inflated values even as real buyers disappear from the market. So here's what this means for you. Online estimates might show your home gaining value, but it's digital fiction. Real buyers aren't paying those prices anymore. So of these 4 resets, the Fed, the tax collector, the market, or the algorithm, which reset is winning in your area? Well, there's a simple test. You just need to look at these 3 numbers for your zip code. First, the inventory levels. If they've doubled, prices are probably going down. Then you need to look at the days on market. So if you're over 60 days on market, prices are probably going down. And then 3, the buy versus rent ratio. So if it's 150% or more expensive to buy on a monthly payment basis than it is to rent, then prices are likely going down. So here's the reality check. If you're in one of those declining markets, those 109 markets, reset number 3 wins, the market reality. Your home value drops despite tax increases and algorithm inflation. If you're in stable markets, reset number 1 wins, that Fed support. You've got modest price support from rate cut hopes. Now, when it comes to everywhere, reset number 2 is going to hit you regardless, the property taxes. You see, you pay more even if values stay flat. So here's what you need to do right now. If you are buying, use the market decline data to negotiate. Show sellers the inventory numbers and days on market statistics. And you can save, anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 depending on your price point by timing this right. If you're selling, price aggressively below online estimates. The algorithms, they haven't caught up to market reality yet. And by the way, don't confuse underpricing with underselling. I'm not saying give your house away. No, don't do that. This is a game of exposure. That's what I'm talking about. A low price is going to get maximum eyeballs on your listing, and that type of exposure drives value, and value drives price. Your house will sell for what it's worth with this approach. Now, if you're staying put, if you're not selling or buying, appeal your property tax assessment immediately. Use actual recent sale prices, not peak pandemic valuations. More people win these appeals than you'd think. It's not the lesson in futility that most people anticipate. Now, for everyone, stop trusting online estimates. They're lagging indicators that don't reflect current buyer behavior. So if your market fails the zip code test, pressing pause on buying might be smart, but don't sit it out. There are current strategies to de-risk in uncertain markets and still get paid to wait. That's why I made this next video right here for you. Check it out. And if I don't see you over there, then maybe I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Take care.